These are not protests over civil rights or democracy. These are people fighting for something incredibly basic, the right to live their normal lives.
Dakle, ja sam trener mlađih kategorija u ženskom košarkaškom klubu Šibenik i znači više od 90% sad tih mojih djevojčica iz kluba ne može trenirati i automatski.
Let's rewind back to February 2020 to understand why people lost faith in lockdowns. In February 2020, Italy saw the worst outbreak of coronavirus pandemic across the world after China. By the end of the first week of April, over 18,000 people were dead. What happened in Italy nudged governments across the world to impose stringent lockdowns.
Well, in a televised address to his nation, French President Emmanuel Macron has told his people, quote, "We are at war," announcing a full lockdown.
Germany has ordered a district of almost 400,000 people back into lockdown amid a widening coronavirus outbreak.
The initial plan was to stop the virus by stopping people from getting infected by coming in contact with each other. Some countries succeeded in limiting the spread of coronavirus by imposing strict lockdowns.
Today there are no active cases in New Zealand. We have tested almost 40,000 people for COVID-19 in the past 17 days and none have tested positive.
But even after almost a year, many countries are still stuck in the cycle of unlock and lockdown.
The wave of new cases in Europe is forcing France and Germany to go back into lockdown.
Germany is extending its national coronavirus lockdown by 3 weeks in an effort to reduce stubbornly high infection and death rates.
Repeated lockdown measures have driven the working classes and small business owners to desperation. So it's no surprise that anti-lockdown protests have now turned violent. The purpose of a lockdown is to reduce the transmission of a virus. The transmission reduces only when infected people isolate themselves. But lockdowns tend to be ineffective when people most vulnerable to the infection are the same people who cannot afford to sit at home. These are the people who live paycheck to paycheck or whose businesses are at the brink of closing down due to the restrictions. Many are now questioning whether lockdowns are effective in preventing COVID deaths. According to a study conducted by the University of Oxford's Blavatnik School of Government, there's little correlation between the stringent lockdowns imposed by a country and whether it managed to curb the COVID fatalities. To understand this, let's divide European countries into 3 groups. Group 1 contains the UK, the Netherlands and Spain, the countries that experienced high COVID fatalities. Incidentally, these 3 countries had imposed strict lockdowns multiple times since the outbreak and continue to do so in a bid to curb the transmission. Group 2 consists of Sweden and Switzerland. Both countries did not enforce stringent lockdowns. Both countries recorded more deaths than usual, but still significantly less than the first group. Group 3 consists of Greece, where the death toll remained within the normal range. Germany had enforced milder restrictions than Italy and yet has been more successful in curbing the virus from spreading. According to a World Food Programme report in April 2020, 130 billion people went hungry because of the COVID-19 pandemic. In January 2021, Israel's central bank estimated that the 14-day nationwide coronavirus lockdown from January 8 would cost the country $2 billion. According to an analysis by Bloomberg, European countries with stringent lockdowns are also the countries that suffered the most economically. The French Treasury estimates that the economy has fallen 20% below normal levels, an improvement from the 30% seen during the first lockdown in March 2020. Meanwhile, Sweden, which avoided lockdown during the height of the pandemic, saw its economy shrink by 8.6% in April to June 2020. Apart from the economic slowdown, lockdowns also impacted people's well-being and mental health. Google Trends data from 10 countries across Europe and the US showed that when compared to 2019, the number of searches during the lockdown in 2020 for boredom rose by 93%, loneliness by 40% and worry by 27%. However, a study conducted by the Imperial College London estimated that lockdowns saved over 3 million lives from coronavirus in Europe by May 2020. This meant that without the initial lockdowns, 3.1 million people, including 470,000 in the UK, 690,000 in France and 630,000 in Italy, would have died. 12 months of coronavirus means governments across the world have tried and tested various levels of restrictions. The vaccination drives now rolling out all across the world will hopefully negate the need for lockdowns. The price of the pandemic goes far beyond the COVID-19 death toll.